Welcome back to our lesson on the San or Jawasi people. This segment is going to talk a little bit about population and subsistence. So the San population these days is around 100,000, mostly in Botswana and Namibia. Don't forget we're near the Kalahari Desert, in and around it. Something interesting has happened with their birth rates over the years since many San people were moved and forced from their traditional way of life into settlements, just different lifestyles. Historically, San births were low and spaced further apart. This is due to a couple of things. To start with, menstruation in young women would have onset later due to lower percentages of fat in the body and just different diet and lifestyles. And then once a San woman became a mother, she would nurse her infant for a long time up into toddlerhood, and nursing or breastfeeding tends to prevent ovulation or prohibit ovulation. That's not always the case, but usually a woman who's nursing is much less likely to ovulate than a woman who's not nursing. So these two things together, kind of lifestyle, diet, and the nursing, and a lot of this due to the nomadic lifestyle that they would have had, would have led to lower birth rates and births that were spaced apart. Today, the San birth rates are rising to 6+ per mother because of a more settled lifestyle, different nutrition, and westernized healthcare. So I might have mentioned already that the San belong to the Khoisan language family, and these are known to be the click languages in the southern African continent. So clicks will be used as consonants within their language, and these are some of the different language groups within this Khoisan language family. So within these groups, you'll have different dialects as well. So you can see how these are kind of distributed across this part of the continent. So the click languages are thought to be some of the oldest on Earth. As I mentioned, there are many different dialects. One interesting thing about their language, other than they use clicks, is that they use over 100 different sounds in their languages. Most other languages use only 20 to 40 different sounds. And you'll see here the exclamation point, the lines, and the apostrophe and the slash. Those are all used as symbols for the click sounds in the written language when it's transcribed. All right, traditional San settlements. We're getting into infrastructure here with our talk about the San and different aspects of their culture. So during the hot, wet season, they would live in temporary huts made out of thatched grass, and then they would be living in seasonal homes used during the cold, dry season. Here's what a traditional settlement would look like. There are San today who still live a traditional lifestyle, but a lot of times when you're looking at pictures of their lives and how they live, you'll see, you might not notice, but they do a lot of reenactments for tourists as well. So it's kind of hard to know if you're clicking around online what you're looking at, if it's a reenactment or if it's how they really live. All right. Their traditional subsistence. Now, subsistence is a term that's used to describe how people get their food. And hunting and gathering is one method of subsistence. This is also known as food foraging. So with food foraging, food is acquired through hunting, fishing, and gathering edible plants. Food is not grown, raised, or produced. It is only hunted and gathered from nature. And this is the oldest method of subsistence. It's just literally living off the land. Traditionally, in many cultures, men do most of the hunting and some gathering, and women do most gathering. However, that's not a hard and fast rule. In many foraging societies, there's a lot of flexibility in the division of labor by gender. So this doesn't necessarily mean that women don't hunt. It just depends on the society you're studying. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about some different hunting techniques, different types of prey, and other different types of food that would be gathered by the San people. So One hunting technique is to track the prey, stalk the prey, shoot it with a poisoned arrow, follow the injured prey for hours or maybe even days, and then kill the prey when it falls, and butcher and share the meat. Another hunting technique is throwing sticks, maybe to knock animals out of trees or out of the air. Digging into an animal burrow is another one, or using snares. The types of animals they will hunt and capture and kill would be hare, porcupine, gazelle, antelope, giraffe, birds, and reptiles. All right, some of the gathering they would be doing could be many different types of plant foods, including roots, melons, mongongo, mangedi nut, insects, beans. And gathering can provide an important food source, especially during a bad hunting season or a period of time where hunts are unsuccessful. Gathering can provide up to 90% of calories in a sand diet. Okay, there's exceptions to every rule, as I might have mentioned before. The San had been known to use melons to store water, or not to store, but to access liquids. And there's a documentary out there, I forgot what it's called, but it's about a group of San actually planting and harvesting the melons for water. So let's keep that in mind, that they, even though they are supposedly only hunter-gatherers or foragers, it's possible that they can raise some crops as well. And they will often also interact with other groups of other ethnicities that will raise cattle and trade cattle. So they're going to be interacting with other groups as well. And so they'll have access to food that they could potentially have access to food that is raised rather than foraged. Okay, and finally, this is the San or Jawasi take on the water bottle. They can store water in ostrich eggshells, which is very interesting to think about. So I hope you enjoy that detail. This is the end of part 2 on the San or Jawasi culture. Please proceed to part 3.